Secretary in the Ministry of European Investments and Projects. Welcome. Ms. Anna Calcazzi, Director for EU countries, Europe and Central Asia, World Bank. Welcome, Anna, back in Bucharest. Ms. Clara Staicu, State Secretary for European Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Romania. Mrs. Teodora Preoteasa, she earlier mentioned that she would like to be one of the panelists and to present her ideas more broadly, so here she has the occasion. Welcome back, Teodora. Mr. Marius Kara, Head of European Investment Bank Group Office in Bucharest. And, of course, Mr. Vasile Sandei, General Director of Northeast Regional Development Agency. With your permission, I would like to start by giving the floor to Ms. Carmen Moraru, the person that, in her capacity of State Secretary in the Ministry of Investment and European Projects, actually led the National Recovery and Resilience plan implementation in Romania in the last several years. And I would be curious to hear from her what lessons from the RRF experience you deem most relevant for designing this new, potentially hybrid delivery model that we talk about under the single fund. Please.
Thank you, Dragos. Good afternoon to everybody. So indeed, I am the State Secretary who is in charge with coordinating the national coordinator for the NRRP. And I have also the privilege of coordinating two programs or one program under the cohesion policy. So I kind of have a view on how things are working, both in cohesion policy for the structural funds and also in the RRF. So for this, I'll go back to 2021, November, when the National Plan for Recovery and Resilience for Romania, of course, was approved. And that time, we were happy to see that around 30 billion euros will be invested in the Romanian economy. So, and we were pleased to see that. The plan contained 171 measures, out of which 64 reforms and 107 investment. We had 507 targets. So, being pleased with investing in the Romanian economy so much money, we thought that the plan, things will go easy, and the investment will be implemented by the end of the RRF, which is 31st of August 2026. We all know that by now. And we didn't understand that the system of the new program was something totally different. It wasn't about absorption, it was about meeting the targets and the milestones. And having this in mind, we had to readjust the way our teams were looking at the plan. So we didn't speak about how many invoices we are paying, but we are talking about how long does it take to reach the targets. So actually we concentrate on the outcomes and not, I mean, we need to concentrate on the outcomes and not on paperwork. That focus, I think, needs to stay. Also, working with all the reform and investment coordinators, so many ministries, so many agencies, so many different bodies from the level of the national coordinators. This was an entire different work, and we need to build new procedures, new expertise that I think we need to keep for the next programming, for the next MFF, for the programs that we need to design for the future. So we cannot waste this capacity. We cannot start from scratch because involving people who worked both at the national coordinator, but also to the reform coordinator at the level of the ministries, is wasting time, wasting money, and losing efficiency. Also, as I told you, since I'm coordinating also a program that is financed or is under the cohesion policy, but also implementing the program brought me to but not only me, to the idea that neither the cohesion policy or the RRF are perfect. So I would say that we need to learn both from the successes and from the mistakes that, or the weak points, I wouldn't say mistakes, but weak points of the programs, is building a better program for the future. So I think we need the right combination between the mechanism from the cohesion policy and from the RRF. In the implementation of the program of the RRF, sometimes I noticed, actually not I, we noticed lack of flexibility in the RRF. For some issues, it was all or nothing, and I don't think this is the right way to see the next program. I think that we need to take the flexibility of the mechanism from the cohesion policy and put it together with the let's say the orientation toward the results from the RRF. And I think that combining this and learning from the lessons we have lived in the RRF will bring us to have the best possible program. So also I think that we need a genuine simplification for the next programming period. Building it from the beginning, and not after as an afterthought. We need to being able to adapt when reality changes, when the political environment, the economic environment change, to swift adapt to the new realities, to be able to change without let's say the bureaucratic change that we have to pass through in the RRF. So we know very well that in order to change anything in the RRF, we need to go through a procedure which is not easy. Besides the internal discussions on what to be changed and how to change. Also, I think we need to be very realistic when setting the program. I think that we have to be honest. We were really optimistic when designing the RRF. We thought that we could do more than we are able to do now. And actually this resulted in the two modifications of the RRF, one of those being completed, I think last week. We need to know exactly what are the reforms and the investment that we are able to carry on in due time. Also, I think that we need clear guidance. The member states should know from the beginning what is the value attached to each milestone. We didn't know it from the beginning in the RRF. We learned it afterwards. And we learned that not implementing a reform that apparently has no cost attached is very costly, I mean, we are losing big time if we are not implementing a reform. And I think we leave that when implementing the decarbonization law, the state-owned enterprises law, and we learn that we have to stick to the milestones. Whatever is written there, we have to stick to it. Also, I think that we need to have a proportionate mechanism. It happened in the RRF that for instance, for not complying with the public procurement law for some investments in the transport, even though we thought that are minor deviation from the law, the Commission considered that it has to be out, and there was no discussion on keeping them in the program, even though, again, we thought that this could be corrected, let's say, via, according to the mechanisms that we have in the cohesion policy. So I think that we should have combined mechanism. Keeping the reform and the result-oriented, but also the flexibility from the cohesion policy. So I think that learning from there are a lot of things that we have lived through the implementation of the RRF, but I would say that in my opinion, I would say that having flexibility together with the result-oriented, keeping the capacity building that we have, the capacity, administrative capacity that we have built in also in the Ministry of Investment and European Project as the national coordinator, but also at the level of all reform coordinators is crucial. And it is important that people who have lived the RRF should be involved at least in the implementation of the new program. And I think we have not the capacity, but also the possibility to take what was best in the RRF, what is best in the cohesion, and build the best program that we should create. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carmen, for your insightful points. You could see that they stem for actual practice, and I think that this is very important. I would like also to highlight the need for clarity and methodological guidance. And I was happy to see in the new draft proposal for the regulation the fact that we already discussed about a pre-identified value for the milestones, a thing that was not part of the RRF initially. Now we look forward to see how we actually determine that particular value. Secondly, the call for flexibility, that is important. The context is changing, and we've been witnessing these changes all the time lately, things that we cannot anticipate before. And last but not least, not to lose the gained capacity in RRF. And I think that this is valid both for member states to reflect on the involvement of those that were part of the RRF exercise in the preparation of the new programming period, but also at the level of the European Commission to make sure that there is cross-fertilization between the different directorate generals that are working on these issues, and lessons learned are actually taken on board. Thank you very much. Now, I have to admit that when I saw the RRF regulation for the first time, there were two performance-oriented instruments that were used internationally that came into my mind. One was an instrument that the European Commission was using in relation to candidate countries, and colleagues from former DG NEAR would remember the sector reform contracts where they did have indicators against which payments were made, pre-identified value for indicators. The second was programming for result, an instrument that the World Bank had developed years ago and is still using for different countries in relation to different governments to stimulate the execution of reform and quantify the actual progress of the various investments. Now, in relation to this, I would like to give the floor now to Anna Calcazzi, the World Bank Director for EU countries and former World Bank Manager for Romania and Hungary. a very dear friend of Romania that most of us in the room representing Romanian authorities have been in touch with. And I would be keen to hear Anna's reflection on how, in her view, the European Union would better respond to these new priorities. We heard a lot about competitiveness, while still maintaining cohesion as a central objective of the intervention. And additionally, how can the World Bank, drawing on its experience and partnership both with the EU and member states, could help and strengthen these efforts? Thank you. Anna.
Thank you very much, Dragos, and it's really exciting for me to be back in Bucharest, and at this critical moment was Bucharest process is starting, and be sharing this with all of you here in the room with so many friends and partners and with new stakeholders that have really a lot to gain from an event. And I really want to thank the minister and his team for leadership in organizing and bringing us all together here for a dialogue and for an opportunity to exchange ideas on what we have seen working, where we see the opportunities, and how we can position each other's strengths in order to leverage and make sure that the opportunity that this moment possesses, that this opportunity is used. I have many different thoughts. I will try to respond to what you said, Dragos, but then also reflect a bit on what I heard during the day as well. Let me start with sharing the experience of the program for results that the World Bank Group has been implementing. I think there are probably 3 buckets of lessons that are coming out of our own experience with this instrument. And first bucket is around importance of political will. When we talk about reforms, when we talk about what we want to achieve, results that we want to achieve, it's very important to be very clear about what our ambition is. This morning, Minister Nazare was telling about his view that the budget process should be aligned with the objective and the vision, and then we see how we can come to that mission. Importance of KPIs and defining that is very important. And from our experience, political will also means that we need to find champions. We need to make sure that, champions, and many of you are present here, you are equipped to take forward the programs and unlock opportunities. The second bucket of lessons that we learned is importance of strong administrative capacities. And I think this was a theme in the previous panel, one of the panels that I attended. I heard this over and over. And in fact, from member states that probably have already strengthened their administrative capacities, even maybe more than the others, even from more sophisticated administrations, what we are hearing that the evolution that is coming with the new approaches to cohesion policy, the issue of institutional capacity will be key to address. But again, from our experience, institutional capacity could and is sometimes a challenge, but it also is an opportunity. It is a challenge because it requires building capacities to design your own programs, to define everything that what I think Carmen was saying, what Dragos were sharing with us is, understanding of what stands behind those reforms, how you define them. I think it's important, and then what you need in terms of capacity to implement. But opportunity also, because I think it gives us to strengthen the core systems that then will allow us to use very effectively every euro that we can spend. And the third bucket is around very sound public investment management systems and public financial management systems, because I don't think you can, as a member state, own a results instrument that combines reforms and investment without having very sound systems. So again, for me, this is an opportunity as we are considering, as the Commission is considering the incorporation of new approaches, how we can strengthen those core systems. For us in the World Bank, because Dagos, you were also asking me about how the World Bank can do it. I heard one thing in the previous panel also that there is a trade-off between competitiveness and cohesion. It sounded this way, that some were talking about it, one or the other. Or even I heard performance-based versus cohesion. To us in the World Bank, we acknowledge the trade-offs, but we look at it as something that cannot go one without another. The very good example of how it comes together is through, for example, some of the work that we are doing with Northeast Regional Development Agency on innovation and on development of SMEs and ecosystem of SMEs, to see how the policies can be implemented effectively in order to unlock the use of grant financing to improve the digitalization, make the disruption and unlock the productivity of the companies. This is where national initiatives and local regional approaches come together in a way that unlock also private financing and private capital. Because that's another point I want to make. I think we need to be talking much more about how public resources going forward should be used and could be used more effectively at national and regional level in order to unlock and de-risk private financing. Because for the big ambition that each one of our member states and countries have to achieve cohesion, to achieve competitiveness, let's recognize that only public funds will not be sufficient, so we need to see the ways to unlock private financing. And for us, in the World Bank, the way we bring, I think, competitiveness and cohesion agenda together is around the jobs agenda, jobs narrative, because this is where competitiveness comes into real play for people. This is where people see through jobs how the progress, the innovation, what opportunities it's opens up for them. And we do contribute through our programs across the EU countries. We work with partners in order to provide access to people, to education, modern ways of education, to training system, and also invest into unlocking the business climate for firms to grow and provide those jobs. And we do focus on strategic sectors like energy, agribusiness, tourism, healthcare, and manufacturing. And I think this is, again, a call for us to think about what results we want to achieve together. And maybe last point, sorry I'm taking a bit long, but last point again to go back a bit about this issue of trade-offs. It's not black and white. We should not be looking at the dilemma in front of us as such black and white. I think the color of the day is blue with these yellow stars, and the number of stars will be going up, hopefully. And so the success of European project is in its ability to continue and unlock competitiveness while providing its citizens with opportunities where they are, equal opportunities for all to benefit from. And the only way to do it, I think, through partnerships and through peer learning and understanding how things work, where they worked well, and what we can learn from each other. So I thank you very much for the opportunity to learn today a lot from each one of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anna. My key takeaway from your short intervention is that we should probably not forget the core objective of our union. We can discuss a lot about how we split the budget, this budget 7 years, the next one, so on and so forth, but we need to keep in mind the underlying foundation of the European Union project, and the actual values for which it stands. Because I think that that really makes us unique and allow us to play the role that we are meant to play. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Now, with your permission, I would invite Ms. Clara Staicu to share with us her views on what are kind of the current political dynamics that are shaping the negotiation of the new MFF, and whether we already have some key negotiating positions that Romania is currently pursuing in this process. Thank you.
Thank you very. Is it working? Is this okay now? Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It is a great pleasure. It's an actual honor to be here today among so many high-level representatives, decision makers, experts on cohesion and development. And of course, today's discussion confirmed that we are already going at cruise speed on the discussions on MFF. I also feel very enriched and grateful to take part into these exchanges, and I would like to thank you all for the great response to our invitation, and I'm pretty sure this will be great food for thought needed in order to advance. It is very difficult to be in the last panel because most of the great ideas have already been expressed, and including even now today. I listened to Carmen, I listened to the representative of the World Bank, but thank you for the invitation that opens a little bit up the discussion and gives me the opportunity. As I was saying, the discussions on MFF are already now at cruising speed. They are at all levels very active, at technical level, in the working groups in the Council, also at the level of the Council and the General Affairs Council. There we already had a second discussion, very fruitful this very month. And of course, it's all building up, preparing for the European Council discussion that will be held in the second part of December. That would already be a moment when we'll have more clarity on this process. I would like to speak a little bit about the European objectives, and I think that our main European objective is to match the financing needs with our strategic priorities, because this is all the, how can I say, all the talent that we'll get from us all to deliver. Of course, for Romania, traditionally cohesion and agriculture are very important, very visible. But in the same time, I have to say that for us, all three MFF chapters are of great importance, because reality, because the context, because where we stand in Europe, because of the times that we are living. But since, of course, today is all about cohesion, I'll go back and refer a little bit to this. This year we celebrate 18 years since we became a new member state, and this anniversary also leads a little bit to reflection. And the cohesion policy had a great role in our identity and on our path towards today becoming a full-fledged member and also a grown-up in Europe. And therefore, I can only mention, I don't know, the GDP increase, the tangible investments, infrastructure, decarbonization. So the cohesion policy is definitely a success story for us and for many other member states. And it is also one of the main vectors of our transformative process one of the main vectors of convergence that we use in order to advance inside the EU, and also long-term competitiveness. It's been quite some time since we are saying that competitiveness and cohesion are two faces of the same coin. cohesion is an enabler for competitiveness. It's an enabler for Europe's role in the world, and here starting even with your own neighborhood and with the candidate countries. So to go to some of our very concrete objectives that we think that we have already defined as regards cohesion policy, please allow me to mention some of them. First, it's to protect the allocation for cohesion policy from further reductions. There have been already in real times reductions in the first chapter of the budget already done. Compared with the current framework. A second very important objective would be to preserve the fundamental principles that are the identity of the cohesion policy, and subsidiarity and, of course, shared management, multi-level governance, partnership, and place-based approach. Another very important objective for us would be to continue the region-based approach to the cohesion policy, but I'm pretty sure that I have a feeling somebody will refer to this a little bit later on, so I'm not going to insist on this point. Next, what is very important is to balance the investments and the reforms within the delivery mechanisms based on performance. And here already we heard a few words about this, because the reforms must be useful, relevant for us in order to achieve convergence, which is the objective of the cohesion policy. This is the role of the reforms. And another objective would be to ensure that the policy is supported by efficient implementation mechanisms. And here, of course, we are going to hear more in detail about this. What I mean by this is coherent control, audit and reporting rules, but in the same time, we really have to think, and we have already experienced about avoiding administrative burden. This is probably one of the main things that we have to have in mind looking forward. 3 more, I swear, that's all. Another very important point is, because it's a new policy where we have to combine different ideas, is to make sure that we calibrate properly the pre-financing, the co-financing, and the decommitment rules. And I would bold and underline also the decommitment rules, not that the others are not important, because we need the cohesion policy to provide the long-term investment that we need, and we have to think it through. We can only cut once, as they say. Yeah? And again, I come to what Carmen told us about the lessons learned in the RRP. Another point would be to learn how to combine different financing sources and solutions, innovative solutions, including synergies and complementarities with the competitiveness pillar, which is essential. And here I trust that there are representatives from institutions, mostly banking, that will come back to this. And last point is to increase the flexibility of the budget, to have in mind and to prepare for the challenges. In the same time, when we design the policy, we have to carefully balance the flexibility with the predictability, and to allow, in the same time, for this policy to deliver its long-term objectives. Well, I can only say from this that there's a long road ahead of us in terms of negotiating process. One of my colleagues in the General Affairs Council named this as the mother of all negotiations, and I think she's right, and I used to quote her a lot. But we have the hope that at the end of this process, the Europe will emerge stronger. Europe as a whole, not us seen individually, because this is maybe one of the most important objectives that we also have, and we'll be able to say that we had a stronger cohesion policy that would be able to address our challenges of today and the challenges of the future, both geoeconomic, but also geopolitical, but also economic challenges. Well, this being said, I think I stop here and also give our esteemed other panelists time to present their. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Lang. Indeed, Many of the previous speakers mentioned the fact that this negotiation process is going to be rather long and probably cumbersome one, so we should get ready. The interest for Romania in this topic and in this process, I think it's obvious and it's been demonstrated by today's event. And I'm happy to see that we stand up as a voice in this process, and to hear that we are already putting and transmitting some of the clear lines that we want to follow. Let me now, with your permission, invite Mr. Marius Cara to tell us a bit on the envisaged role of the EIB in supporting the investments under the next MFF, and the way he sees the cooperation of EIB with the Romanian and other member states' authorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dragos. First, before I start anything, I want to wish Clara every success with the negotiations and to the Ministry of Finance. Now, if I will have to choose only one idea to pass to Minister Păslaru of what can be done, this idea would be to prepare, create, and implement more financial instruments even out of the national and regional plans. And I will try to explain why. I have a long list here of the benefits or the examples of value added of these financial instruments. But I will start with leverage, because we heard the very first thing in the morning from the President of the Committee of the Regions that the budget, the projected budget, as big as it is, will not be enough. So by leverage, what we do is we multiply these funds and we reuse them eventually. Yeah? Grants are one-off payments. With financial instruments, they are revolving instruments, yeah? Like we see now with the Jeremy Fund, which we implemented back in 2008. Now this is fully reimbursed and we are reusing it. Another benefit or advantage is project discipline, because the beneficiaries or the promoters have some skin in the game. So instead of the state taking all the risk like they do with the grant, there is some risk and incentive for the project promoters. So risk sharing, like I said, that's an obvious one, because with the financial instrument, you do not cover the whole value, yeah? You leave some risk on the table, but at the same time, you as a member state, you do not take all the risk. And lastly, I would mention the importance of market development. These financial instruments, which come in many forms and which evolve in time, are also meant to develop what is maybe one of the last integrated markets to be completed in Europe, which is the capital markets, yeah? Because there are many markets which are not yet there at the single market ideal, but the Capital Markets Union, I think it's probably the one which, the biggest obstacle in EU becoming a true competitor to the US and China, where there is only one market in each. Now, I said if I had to choose only one idea, but luckily I'm not forced to do that. So I would just go back a little bit and look at the wider context of the EIB and how we work with the member states, with the Commission, and what we do in Romania. Well, the EIB is in a very privileged position to leverage and to implement the EU budget because we were created for this. Yeah? So we are the EU bank, the only international financial institution which is owned by the EU member states and present in all the EU member states. And we have developed this expertise through many decades of operation in each state. Secondly, and here I would maybe zoom in on Romania. In practice, we implement our projects through blended mechanisms. So in most cases, our investment loans are complemented by the use of EU funds. So we co-finance it with the EU budget. And in most cases, and in Romania in particular, this comes together with technical assistance, which helps the preparation of projects, which accompanies the promoters in the implementation stage. So technical assistance at many levels, which also create capacity, yeah? And that capacity stays, as well as the projects that we implement. And I mentioned that the EIB has been created as the financial arm of the EU budget. We are the EU bank. But this does not mean that we operate alone. And actually, the countries which are the largest beneficiaries of EIB funds, in those countries, we work together with the national promotional banks, yeah? Whether it's Italy, Poland, France. So we don't seek exclusivity, and we hate to work alone. In fact, we are here to implement new instruments, to develop new instruments, together with the newly created IDB, Banca de Investiții și Dezvoltare, which we have supported from the very beginning with a market study to identify the gaps, what are the largest needs of investment in Romania. So we help with this first investment strategy and with the first catalog of products. We are continuing to work together, and we, of course, see the benefit of channeling even more funds through such channels as a national promotional bank. So to sum up, I started with financial instruments. We are good at developing, structuring, and implementing this. We want to do this with the IDB in Romania, and we are, of course, ready to continue the technical assistance and the support to the Romanian government in various ways.
Thank you very much. Indeed, I think that the next programming period has to be treated slightly different. We need to understand that grants alone is not going to be the rule anymore. So leveraging on private sector becomes more and more important to ensure European and national competitiveness. So I think that this is really, really important, and I'm happy to hear it today as well. To continue the discussion on financial instruments and on development, I would now invite Mrs. Teodora Preoteasa to reflect on the role of the Investment and Development Bank in developing and managing financial instruments and thinking about fostering and supporting impactful and durable development.
Thank you very much, Dragos. Before discussing about the financial instrument, because this is of course the main topic and we are talking about delivery, let me please first just put a bit of context, because since in the morning I was, feeling in that attitude to say something about also the new partnership plan. It is really important. I know I'm no longer part of the programming exercise, but I see all my colleagues here that are very much involved in this process. So I cannot say more than that, the fact that it will be a very complex process. And I feel you, I hear you, and I've been there, but I know that now it will be I don't know if double, but triple difficult than it was. So I heard today all the views in terms of how the new partnership plan would look and how the involvement of regions, how we are going to move forward in this direction. But what it is important is to mention, and I will not repeat because Carmen, she underlined very well the lesson learned from NRRP process. However, we have to have in mind that the NRRP was designed to address some complex concerns, and I will give 2-3 examples, such as bottom-up territoriality, such as policy coherence, such as harmonized development, while putting in the hands of the member state an agile instrument that, in theory, should have a fast disbursement and results orientation, in theory, because this is an extraordinarily difficult task to do so. So what we see is that the new partnership plan, it's neither the RRF model, nor the familiar mechanism that we all used, like project-based, cost-based, within cohesion policy. So this is, I think, really important to have in mind for the future, to be careful the way how we embed in the new partnership the lessons from both instruments, the good parts from both instruments, because otherwise it will be extremely difficult, and I will repeat that. Why? Because I'm looking to my colleagues. Some of them, they never worked with RRF. There are just few that they were involved in this exercise. So even for those that are still working to implement NRRP, it will be extremely difficult because it's not the same. So this is, I think, something that we have to draw as a conclusion from all the discussions, and also from, obvious, the regulation that was put on the table for all of us. So I wanted to say that because I think from this we have to start. Then, of course, in a way, I have anticipated the future, and this is why I shift, from one institution to another. And this is why I'm struggling, and it is the real wording, struggling, because it's difficult also to push new institutions, to be up and ready to help you. Because this is what I'm trying there, to make them to understand, also my colleagues, because it's a bank, it's not a public institution. So to make them to understand that we have to be ready to help you in the future. And I will underline 3, if you want, key priorities. One, it's definitely to be part of the new architecture. I don't know, in the management and control system, as all the institutions alongside managing authorities, is the only way, because it's the only way that we can design financial instruments together. Of course, having in mind that we need to have that ex-ante analysis, those strategies that are underlying, a financial instrument when it's drafted and, of course, implemented. Then the second, I would say that it's to try not to have that fragmented approach, because this is really important in terms of implementation of financial instruments. So we have to focus more on impact. And third, we need to focus on strategic projects, not only those that are business as usual. We need to focus on strategic projects. And I will give you an example now. Today, together with Carmen Moraru, because we are involved in this process, we concluded a financial agreement between us and Ministry of Investments to help them to deliver and to implement the financial instrument on STEP priority. So it is the first financial instrument related to the STEP regulation, related to the STEP priorities. So it will be, in a way, if you want, our showcase, because this will give us, that trust, not only in relation with you, but also with the European Commission. And last but not the least, because I have Vasile here, and with him I have started my journey within the Investment and Development Bank. We have started to implement the financial instrument firstly for his region, Nordest, because we heard in the morning that, that region is still needs a lot of things to do, but luckily we have Vasile and the Regional Development Agency there. And then join Southeast and the North and Bucharest Ilfov as well. So we have now one instrument that's integrated 3 regions, and it's a first step. And it's exactly what Marius Cara mentioned. We are not talking about grants. We are talking about loans and grants. So this is the first instrument that will help us to pave, this future where indeed it will not be longer place only for grants. So we need to diversify the typologies of instruments that we are using in order to address better the market needs, and of course the strategy. And I think this is the most important lesson that we have to learn from what did happen, and of course to help us in the future. That's it on my side.
Thank you very much, Teodora. I always liked a passionate speech, and you could see when people are really involved and put their heart and soul into different issues, and Teodora is one of those persons, and I really appreciate her involvement. Now, moving forward, Cohesion has regions and local development at its heart. We cannot complete the presentations of the day without having a discussion and reflection from a regional level, having a regional perspective on what a potential result-oriented approach would imply for regional authorities, what would be the challenges that regions consider they might be facing while implementing a mechanism that is close to what the current proposed regulation for the next MFF implies. And for this, I am inviting Mr. Asande to tell us his views on that, on the potential capacity constraints that he might be identifying at regional level, and what would be the challenges that they think should be overrun. Thank you. Vă rog.
I will speak in Romanian. Și asta pentru că vreau să spun mai degrabă ce gândesc decât câte cuvinte știu în engleză. Astăzi s-au spus foarte multe lucruri foarte importante și valoroase pentru noi și mă gândesc că noi, cei de la regiuni, din Agențiile pentru Dezvoltare Regională, suntem în poziția de a pune pe hârtie cum facem ca prioritățile europene, ca preocupările acestea de la nivel înalt, se regăsesc în preocupările cetățenilor și ale comunităților, cum organizăm tot acest cadru financiar viitor pentru a avea coeziunea aceea reală între oameni. Coeziunea între oameni, coeziunea care asigură bunăstare, care asigură acel nivel care îi determină pe oameni să se simtă europeni. Și este o poziție interesantă pentru noi, pentru că venim de la acest fir al ierbii. Deși eu personal sunt implicat de mult timp în tot acest proces de negociere, de pregătire, de implementare a proiectelor și programelor, aș zice că mă simt în continuare un pic ca Badea Cârțan când am văzut columna de la Roma, adică văzând această discuție de nivel înalt, pe tot parcursul zilei am fost preocupat ce punem noi pe hârtie în viitorul apropiat, cum transformăm toate aceste idei în lucruri aplicabile. S-a vorbit aici despre experiența trecutului și, desigur, au fost părți bune și părți mai puțin bune, să spunem, atât în programele din politica de coeziune, cât și în cele legate de redresare și reziliență, dar cred că s-au desprins câteva elemente esențiale. Primul dintre ele este să gândim bine ce avem de făcut, pornind de la realități, fiind realiști, înțelegând care sunt nevoile și preocupările concrete ale oamenilor și ale comunităților, Apoi, cred că trebuie să construim acest cadru de guvernanță foarte solid. Mă gândeam la PNRR, care, dacă suntem realiști, am constatat că a avut niște probleme în implementare și, după opinia mea personală, o cauză principală a fost că n-am pus întâi un mecanism de implementare solid la baza acelor fonduri. Și cred că din aceasta ar trebui să învățăm. Apoi, un alt lucru care cred că o concluzie pentru mine, cred că noi toți ar trebui să gândim ca un startup. Poate Europa însăși trebuie să gândească ca un startup. Ce face un startup? Vine cu o inovație disruptivă și răspunde unei nevoi reale și încearcă să transforme acea idee inovativă într-o realitate de care este nevoie. Suntem în această poziție și trebuie să ne așezăm în jurul mesei, să lăsăm unii și să acceptăm și punctul de vedere al celuilalt și să construim acel mecanism care ajută cu adevărat. Pentru că s-a vorbit, de exemplu, despre reforme. Reformele nu cred că mai înseamnă numai niște acte normative elaborate și adoptate la nivel național, ci înseamnă și o modalitate concretă de a face lucrurile. Iar noi, la nivel regional, și Ana a spus mai devreme un exemplu despre noi, putem face astfel de lucruri. Trebuie să deschidem puțin perspectiva noastră, trebuie să înțelegem că acolo, la firul ierbii de unde venim noi, oamenii sunt informați, știu poate mai mult decât ne gândim noi că știu și așteaptă să vadă lucruri concrete realizându-se, nu neapărat numai niște legi în monitor oficial. De aceea cred că avem acum oportunitatea să gândim această nouă perioadă de finanțare într-un mod diferit. Deci, mai întâi gândind-o bine. Știți, la noi este o vorbă, teoria ca teoria, dar practica ne omoară, iar eu spun că a început să ne cam omoare teoria, că dacă nu gândim bine, degeaba ajungem la practică. Și avem un termen relativ scurt în care trebuie să facem lucrurile astea. Să gândim bine, dar să gândim într-un mod realist. Apoi, haideți să stabilim, iarăși într-un mod cât se poate de logic, cine ce face. Am vorbit cu alte ocazii și cu domnul ministru Păslaru, mi se pare foarte firesc ca ministerele să facă politici. Și să existe un nivel, și există un nivel regional, cel puțin în cazul nostru, care știe să implementeze proiecte, care știe să facă acele reforme adaptate realităților concrete din regiuni. Ce-ar fi ca o comunitate, o primărie sau un consiliu județean să știe că de aici încolo sau în următorul exercițiu financiar are un singur finanțator pentru nevoile lui, că se poate concentra pe strategia lui de dezvoltare și pe prioritățile lui de investiții, nefiind nevoit să alerge între diverse calendare, diverse instituții, diverse reguli. Și același lucru este valabil și pentru firmele private. Ce ar fi să avem un one-stop shop, și am discutat această idee inclusiv cu reprezentanții Băncii Mondiale, un one-stop shop la nivel regional care oferă sprijin firmelor, nu numai în materie de finanțare, că banii sunt o nevoie, dar nu este singura. Firmele au nevoie de mult mai multe lucruri, de digitalizare, de inovare, transfer tehnologic și așa mai departe. Putem organiza aceste lucruri. Deci, pentru mine, concluzia zilei de astăzi este că suntem pe calea cea bună. Avem cam toți aceeași abordare. Astăzi n-am văzut diferențe mari de opinii în felul în care gândim în general lucrurile pentru următorul exercițiu financiar. Tema de acasă pentru noi este să punem pe hârtie aceste aspecte, să le combinăm cu realitatea din teritoriu, să folosim într-adevăr într-un mod propriu parteneriatul atât cu actorii cu care lucrăm la nivel regional, în aceeași măsură cu actorii internaționali, cu Banca Mondială, evident cu Comisia Europeană, nu mai spun cu Guvernul României, cu BEI, de asemenea. Dar va fi un efort greu, pentru că a pune toate aceste lucruri într-un plan concret, pe care după aceea oamenii și comunitățile să-l implementeze și mai mult, să-l aprecieze. Trebuie să fim conștienți că principala noastră problemă este, cum s-a spus mai devreme, mentalitatea, cultura, felul în care ne raportăm unii la alții, cum înțelegem această Uniune Europeană. Din păcate, dacă vorbim doar despre bani, s-ar putea să avem o problemă, pentru că poate prea mult sau prea mult ne-am obișnuit să primim ceva. Și nu este vorba despre a primi ceva. Este vorba de a pune în comun interese, efort, viziune și a conștientiza că doar împreună putem face ca viața noastră în următorii ani să fie mai sigură, mai bună, să valorificăm oportunitățile și să evităm riscurile. Așa că de astăzi, cred, nu neapărat de astăzi, dar mai ales de astăzi, avem de așezat pe hârtie, toți cei care suntem de față și mulți alții, aceste lucruri concrete, asumându-ne ceea ce trebuie să schimbăm, încercând să ne schimbăm poate și gândirea, poate gândind ca un startup și răspunzând unor nevoi reale. Mulțumesc!
Vă mulțumesc foarte mult. Ați desenat un roadmap așa de pași următori, care într-adevăr îmi place foarte mult și ideea de gândire în termen de startup și inovativ și disruptiv, cred că e foarte, foarte interesant aplicat acestui proces de MFF. Într-adevăr, cred că aici trebuie să ne asigurăm că atunci când dezvoltăm noul program, că o să fie unul, că o să vedem, ne asigurăm că se face într-un parteneriat real și luând în calcul inițiativele și opțiunile și opiniile de la nivelul regiunilor și de la nivel local, pentru că conceptul în sine de locally based investment presupune, într-adevăr, să direcționăm efortul și investițiile pentru soluționarea problemelor cu care ne confruntăm la nivel regional și la nivel local. Mulțumesc foarte mult distinșilor noștri oaspeți. I will switch to English. I'm not sure if we are a bit over the agenda, but since this is the last session, I think that it is to all of us benefit to hear a bit also from you, from the audience. So let's take 3-4 questions, comments, ideas that were generated here. Irina, do we have? There is a microphone over there. Maybe you can take this one. Easier like this. I will do it.
Two questions, Dragos, and thank you. First of one, in cohesion policy, we do not have reforms. We have enabling conditions, and I must say they are very enabling. Two examples, energy efficiency in public buildings or in other types of buildings in Northeast region. In order to finance them, we had to fulfill an enabling condition which obliged us to calculate thoroughly all energy savings in all sectors of our economy, including agriculture. A second example, water sector. In order to invest in drinking water networks, we had to make a thorough assessment at the national level to recalculate all the pollution load in all localities, to do a national map of all these pollutants, and it took us 2 years with the help of World Bank. Two enabling conditions. So the question is, what type and how much reform for the future in order to be, as we said, proportionate and feasible and relevant for cohesion policy investments, so relevant for the investments. And second, we see now in the current annex of our regulation for cohesion policy, we have policy domains, and we count 182 annexed to the regulation. For the future, we have a standalone regulation with more than 523 intervention domains, including a menu of reforms. So, second question, fragmentation and performance-based, how to make them work together.
Is there anybody in particular to whom you are addressing the question, or shall I look for volunteers? I think it was more a reflection. You highlighted the fact that the current proposal is indeed extremely complex, and there are still issues that require further clarification. You mentioned the enabling conditions. You know, those are very dear to my heart. We used to call them ex-ante conditionalities back in the days when I was part of the ministry, and I personally led a bit the efforts on clarifying some of those. And when RRF was created, I actually thought that we are moving forward, changing the enabling conditions into the concept of reform. So I think that that's the way they would probably work. We heard in the morning different interventions around the fact that there are too many objectives and the obligation to actually satisfy everything might not be fully aligned with some of the particularities of some member states. So I'm sure that those would be aspects that would be discussed further during this negotiation process that has started. And we heard from Clara that it's really expecting a very long and difficult one. Any other reaction? Maybe we can... Another mic? I will...
Good afternoon. Ana Maria Icătoiu, the Federation for Innovation and Sustainable Competitiveness in SMEs. What kind of tools can be developed in order to make sure that the future competitiveness fund, as well as the SAFE program, can be truly accessible to SMEs in general and to SMEs in Central and Eastern Europe in particular, and will not be as inaccessible, operationally speaking, to them as the Horizon Europe program, given their very low institutional capacity? Thank you.
Who would like to take the...
I don't know if you can hear me. Anna, I will not answer you exactly which kind of tools, but I will tell you that we can develop it together, because I think it's linked to what Irina asked to the previous panel, to the previous session, when she asked how the European Competitiveness Fund could be, you know, in a way linked to the regions. So directly we cannot, but throughout Investment and Development Bank, like a, I don't know, vector in between, I think we can do that. So we will find ways exactly to help the regions, but not only. I think this is one of the solutions that we can be proposed. And to answer to Irina as well, even though it is difficult, because I know that I was the one also to promote this message always, also to the Cohesion Forum as well. Indeed, we have the enabling conditions which are in a way very important, and you cannot be reimbursed from the European Commission if you are not implementing them, so are similar to the reforms. But the answer probably will be, and I'm not the right person to answer to your questions, but the answer probably will be it's at the level of the member state to decide from the country-specific recommendations which are those reforms that are still needed to be implemented on the ground in order to maximize the implementation of the investments, of course, that are going to foresee in the new partnership plan. Thank you.
Cred că avem două probleme.
One second. I need to say goodbye because we need to catch up a plane. I'm very sorry to be leaving it.
Thank you very much, Anna.
Voiam să spun un lucru legat de IMM-urile din România. Cred că avem două probleme. Pe de o parte, sigur că SAFE ca și Horizon sunt două programe cu un nivel de competiție foarte ridicat și e problema noastră să încercăm să ne ridicăm la acel nivel de competiție. Iar în țară, cred că avem alte două aspecte. Unu, sunt totuși firme capabile să acceseze aceste programe Și acolo este nevoie să lucrăm mai mult împreună cu ei, să informăm, să-i ținem aproape, pentru că s-ar putea să nu fie neapărat la curent cu aceste programe și sau să nu fie interesați. Pe de altă parte, avem o mare categorie de firme care nu sunt într-adevăr capabile și acolo trebuie să construim și de aceea eu am propus un one-stop shop la nivel regional să construim această capacitate. Individual sunt mulți oameni competenți și sunt mulți tineri, oameni întorși din străinătate care au acest potențial de a dezvolta firme de succes. Este treaba noastră împreună cu federațiile, împreună cu ministerul, să gândim aceste instrumente, cum ajutăm aceste firme să se dezvolte. Un one-stop shop regional, revin, cred că este o soluție pentru că le putem oferi diverse tipuri de ajutor. Mulțumesc!
Aș vrea să adaug o singură propoziție, și anume că în întrebarea dumneavoastră s-au întrepătruns două dintre prioritățile noastre în ceea ce privește fondul de competitivitate. Accesul IMM-urilor și obligația noastră de a ne asigura că firmele din România au același acces ca orice altă firmă de oriunde. Aș putea spune că excelența există peste tot. Nu există niciun dubiu din această perspectivă. Prin urmare, jobul nostru ca și negociatori pentru acest MFF este să ne asigurăm că excelența din România are același acces ca excelența din alte state membre. Sigur, n-am un răspuns foarte concret, dar vreau să vă asigur că sunt, cred că, principalele priorități pe care le vom avea în ceea ce privește fondul de competitivitate. Mulțumesc foarte mult.
Două vorbe și de la mine. Tot am menționat, Teodora, acordul pe care îl discutăm acum pe STEP pentru Just Transition, programul de tranziție justă. El presupune, va fi accesibil IMM-urilor și întreprinderilor mari, sperăm noi, și este o combinație de grant cu instrumente financiare. Și ce vreau să spun este că Ministerul se străduiește ca să promoveze instrumentele financiare pentru toate programele pe care el le gestionează. Și asta nu numai la nivelul programelor care sunt la nivel național, și știu că toți colegii noștri de la programele regionale dezvoltă instrumente financiare. Și asta tocmai pentru ca să venim în sprijinul IMM-urilor, întreprinderilor mari, a celor care vor să dezvolte business-uri la nivel regional, la nivel național. Și ca să fim foarte onești, dacă până acum, de la perioadă de programare la perioadă de programare, lucrurile evoluează. Dacă în prima perioadă de programare ne era greu și cu granturile, în a doua perioadă de programare nu prea au mai ajuns și acum resimțim foarte puternic nevoia de finanțare. România are nevoi mai mari chiar decât sumele foarte importante pe care le primește de la Uniunea Europeană și prin programe pe care le finanțează, și atunci trebuie să găsim acele combinații prin care să multiplicăm aceste granturi. Și la nivelul Ministerului Investițiilor și Proiectelor Europene există această preocupare.
Mulțumesc. Aș vrea poate doar să adaug un pic la răspunsul Clarei cu privire la fondul de competitivitate și faptul că avem excelență românească, excelență care trebuie să aibă același tip de acces ca orice. E bine că avem, dar trebuie să ne gândim și cum să construim mai multă excelență. Și cred că aici este unul din aspectele pe care ar trebui să-l luăm în calcul, modul în care desenăm planul unic în așa fel încât să ne permită creșterea capacității firmelor noastre, în așa fel încât să fie competitori reali și puternici cu competitorii europeni pentru fondul de competitivitate. Deci cred că această conexiune ar trebui gândită încă din perioada de programare și să ne asigurăm că avem această abordare, tocmai pentru a nu pierde în fața competiției acerbe, care sunt convins că va fi atunci când vorbim de fondul de competitivitate. Thank you very much to all our distinguished guests and to everybody who raised questions and contributed. I think that we are slowly coming to the final moments of this conference. It's the Bucharest process, so it's just started, but the day is coming to a closure, and now we are offering the floor to our distinguished guest, Mr. Dragoș Păslaru, to give us host, yes, sorry, to give us his final remarks and conclusions of the day. Thank you very much, dear colleagues.
I've been to many conferences in my life, as you probably have been. After Marathon Day, to see so many of you that are still hanging here, it's really an honor. And it shows that we do care about cohesion. And this is something that is important. I mean, we need to be cohesive among us in order to care about cohesion, right? And there is one key word that basically unites us, and it's the red line, I think, the one red line that goes through all the debates that we had today. I will talk about two parts of the same issue. I will refer to the European agenda, because it's exactly the most important and pressing thing to refer to the negotiation and to how 2028, 2034 will look like. And I will talk, of course, in my second part of the intervention about Romania. But everything is about partnership. At the European level, we are right now in a process, indeed, of negotiating. Of course, a proposal of the Commission that can be at the same time, and I used that in Budapest some weeks ago as well, can be both an amazing blessing with flexibility, simplification, having one fund, more coherence in terms of planning, the possibility to leverage resources, to choose the right mix in between the old-fashioned cohesion way and the new performance-based thing, to have the lessons learned. So opening amazing efficiencies and the possibility indeed to go to this budget of 2 trillion. And then at the same time can be not just a blessing, but it can also be, in a nightmare scenario, a curse. Shifting from models that we have over decades in cohesion policy that worked and produced impacts, and coming up with new things that are not necessarily that flexible in the end, or not necessarily that simple. Looking at new objectives and forgetting about the old ones that there were actually the main objectives in, or some of the main objectives in the treaty by our founding fathers of the EU. And then creating this feeling that we are more or less reshifting the agenda and talking about the regulation, but not necessarily clarifying what exactly do we mean in terms of implementing or design mechanism, or what do you want to put there. And I need to confess that it was in the second day of my mandate, starting on June 23rd, that I wanted to, to be able to contribute to this particular process. I think that it's not something given that it will be a blessing or a curse. I mean, it's a process that it's up to us together to make it happen. If there are good things about the performance-based model and lessons learned about the RRPs, I mean, we should take them on board and clarify what is actually working. If there are good things that have been implemented by regions on cohesion, I mean, let's see which are those things, and let's see how the bottom-up programming can solve a lot of the issues that we have today. And I think that this kind of perspective that things can, happen somewhere in Brussels in a hidden place, I mean, this is not the right approach. The right approach is that this is exactly the strength of the European Union, of the fact that we have a European Parliament position that is reflected the view of the citizens and the view of the regions and the view of different political bodies. And we do have amazing members of the Parliament that are fighting for the entire Europe. And then you have the Council, which, again, means that we can reflect there the experience in each and every of the member states with their particularities related to how the local and regional setup is more federal, more centralized, less centralized. So we have these amazing experiences in the Council and the Parliament, and you know, the potential is still there to be sure that we get the most out of the Commission proposal. I think that right now, and you might actually share that with me, we are in a little bit of a fast-track negotiation, and I appreciate a lot the Danish efficiency in trying to, you know, push us through with the nego box and, you know, having some clarity on what should be bracketed and what would be negotiated and so on and so forth. And indeed, it's pragmatism and it's pushing the agenda forward, and I'm grateful, honestly grateful for how the Danish president has pushed it forward. And we will have a European Council that will reflect on this progress. But at the same time, I think that what I was sharing today, and I've listened to my colleagues, my colleagues ministers and representative of the member states, is that while we have, of course, prepared ourselves in the representation offices in Brussels and in the capitals as well, on what is going to be in the nego box, and we know that we have an issue with the flexibility reserve or with the decommitment and so on. So we know what we would like to negotiate in terms of the bracketed things put by the Danish presidency, but we might not necessarily know what we don't know. We have a lot of uncertainties related to the mechanisms that are about design and implementation. And I'm thinking somehow that the road ahead should be, on one hand, to take advantage of the progress that we have right now with the Danish presidency and the negos, while at the same time having the space and the time to reflect on the implementation details, on how we would like to see the role of the region, on what would be exactly the governance that we are looking for, on what would be the relation between the European Commission and the member state, on what will be the elements and the criteria to judge if the plan is going in the right direction or not, or exactly as it was mentioned before, understanding what will be the costing method that will be used, understanding details such as what will be the value that will be attached for each of the reforms that are going to be there. What will be the mixing between the former enabling condition approach and the new reform thing? What will be the link in between reforms and investment in terms of the same field that we have in view? So what we were proposing today, referred as and coined as a Bucharest process, is to try to take a little bit of initiative of leadership at council level, together with the capitals, the ministers, the amazing experts that we have, based on the experience of all the member states, and try to reflect in parallel with the nego box and the details in the bracketed things, about what else do we need to clarify to be sure that if we follow and close up the regulation as it is, we still have the predictability and clarity on responding to our regions, in responding to our municipalities, in clarifying exactly what is the road ahead. And I was insisting on partnership at EU level because if we are to speak very frankly, there is a tendency of a little bit of divide and conquer at the same time. And again, there is this group that is referred as Friends of Cohesion, whereas I am considering myself a friend or a fan or a family of Cohesion, but at the same time, I think that everyone in Europe can appreciate the results of Cohesion. We have evaluations and impact, and we can see how things are going. And then we have what is coined the frugal member states, and then I am myself frugal in terms of not spending money that has not got the right impact and efficiency. So I do believe that we have a shared agenda. That's why in Bucharest today, we have not invited just a group of member states, but all member states. And indeed, I mean, we do have a little bit of differences in between us right now related maybe to the size of the budget or how the priorities should go forward. But I don't think that is this kind of a tension in between new policies or priorities and old policies and priorities. There might be a thing that, for instance, competitiveness and defense are right now more important than cohesion and agricultural policy. But what I felt today is that instead of looking at some parts versus other parts, we can actually see that at the foundation of competitiveness, we have actually cohesion. At the foundation of having the right kind of resilience and looking at our dual use and our economies in preparation for defense, it's again cohesion. Without a cohesive society or people that are not taken care of, I mean, we will have a lot of problems in being united. So what I'm suggesting that as part of this process that we are launching is it will be much more efficient to have the view of having one team. Team Europe. And we need in that team to be very careful about how much money do we want to put in, to what extent do we want to clarify exactly the conditionality to use that money, to be sure that we are looking at our regions as engines of development, have they actually proven their value, and at the same time have this right mix in between the models that worked in the past, work in the present, and what we hope to have in the future as mechanisms. So I think that this opens up a really sincere and transparent discussion when we look at the MFF not just as budget or as money or a source of funding. We are looking here about how to shape Europe in the future. And the most important part about Europe, it's not the money component, it's about the values and the principles that we attach to that. And if we are to be indeed having the strength to respond to threats to Europe, including security threats, if we really would like to be competitive at a global scale where we have the trade blocks war and the tensions that we see, we need to be cohesive. We need to stick together in it. We need to adjust where we have doubts about efficiency of using funds. We need to be sure that we leverage, and this is an important thing, EU money, as Draghi report suggested, it's not solving, the EU money is not solving the problem by itself. We need to leverage national resources, we need to leverage private financing, and that should be the road ahead. The Bucharest process suggests to the distinguished participants the fact that maybe it's time for the council members, for the ministers, for the capitals, to work a little bit and have a little bit of brainstorming that can help the Commission as well in clarifying and providing more guidelines about the mechanism and the predictability that is so needed. We are right now in a process where the capitals through Brussels asked more than 200 questions and received a lot of PowerPoint presentation from the Commission clarifying a lot of those questions, but it's not necessarily a systemic approach. We are right now trapped a little bit in the constraints of the negotiation on each of the paragraphs of the regulation, and I think I'm sharing that with my colleagues minister here in signing a lot of mandates for each of the working groups that we have. But sometimes I'm feeling that we don't have, we're losing the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is about being sure that we come up with something predictable, we come up with something that provides efficiency, and something that through leadership will actually lead to better mechanism. And we've launched today this potential debate, and we will follow up with an amazing, a plethora of very rich ideas that have been discussed in both the ministerial meeting this morning and in all the panels. And I would like to really appreciate and have the gratitude towards the speakers and the moderators of all these panels, because I think that the kind of notes, and I had several colleagues that were in all the panels and trying to take notes, because I think that it's going to be enriching the debate. So one team, Team Europe, going together and transforming this in a true blessing for Europe and making ourselves more united. Now, just a few comments on Romania, because I think this is part of the same equation. For Romania, we of course, started this government mandate with a lot of fixing to do and firefighting. And again, I believe that there are some good results right now with the RRP, for instance, that has been revised and approved and put in full transparency in a very predictable way right now. I mean, implementing half of it in 10 months, no pressure. I mean, it's going to be a challenge. But I think that we are going to, if we are going to work together on that as a society, and again, partnership, we may actually transform it in a really success story at European level. At the same time, there were things that were unlocked or, I mean, let's say, made smoother in terms of cohesion policy. I'm referring, for instance, the Just Transition Program that we worked a lot to unleash it, and many other things that are going ahead. We do have still things to clarify. I'm referring here to some programs that were related to SMEs on digitalization that are still not going in the right smooth pace that we were expecting. So we are aware that it's still some fixing to do. But I think that today, Romania is shifting, and you've seen the alignment in the government level. We are working as a team, as ministers. We do have the president backing us, and I would like really to publicly thank the president of Romania because he underlined the importance of cohesion and dialogue and partnership for our country, and for the prime minister that supported this particular event and the idea. And the whole point here is that we need to shift from a catching up phase after 18 years of being part of the European Union to a part where Romania contributes fully to the European agenda. We need to do that mentally, and we need to do that, because we can be a part of the EU success with the things that we've done, the things that we know, and the things that we can add on the European agenda. And this is not just a regular discussion of national pride or being patriotic or whatever, but indeed we can reconsider the way we look at EU funds, we look at EU's future. We have right now top negotiators in the parliament being Romanian. We have the chair of the Regi committee being Romanian. We have a commissioner that is a champion of the cohesion process. We do have amazing contributors at all layers in the European bubble. But we have even more than that. We do have strong regions, and we have a lot of actors at local level that are successfully implementing EU funds. We have a civil society and employers that really use this European fund leverage to improve our country. And we need then to have this way of moving from fixing and putting our house in order to aiming high and raising the ambition for the European project, from just being again in the catching up phase to becoming a regional champion and contributing to what we would like to achieve at EU level. And this is done only through partnership. And I think that as the partnership is needed at the EU level as a whole, we need the partnership here in Romania and to work together for the future. Today we are enhancing this shift from criticizing how things were bad and not working into how we can actually work together to have a better future together. And we have time. I mean, I don't remember, in the last 20 years where we started a discussion timely. We do have 2 years to prepare. We do have 2 years to prepare at EU level and work together for EU's ambition, and we do have 2 years to prepare in Romania to have a national plan, to have a country plan for the future. And the ambition is that we can unleash our potential together to contribute to the EU agenda. I am deeply honored to be here as part of this community, and I think that this is the word that describes what we had today. We had a community of professional politicians, members of the local and central administration, experts, international experts as well, that are part of this idea of development and making things happen with the support of a policy that is the cohesion policy, and again sharing these best practices among us. And as part of this community, indeed, I will be thrilled that until the Cyprus presidency cohesion meeting that will be on February 26th, to be able to push a little bit further the agenda, have the brainstorming, agree together what will be a roadmap that will ensure the clarity to our citizens and push the European project further. I will, of course, end my conclusions with the fact that we did have today an amazing representation of the member state at ministerial level, and I would like to thank all the high-level delegations for being present here. We were deeply honored here in Romania to receive you, to have you, and to engage with you in such a meaningful conversation about the future. We hope to transform this event in a regular event, so to have a meeting in Romania, maybe each year, that will talk about cohesion. This is something that was suggested by several participants, and I'm taking it right now to the despair of my colleagues that have contributed to organizing it. But we still have 1 year to, to breathe a little bit. But it is something that it will honor us deeply. I think that with more than 350 participants from all the member states of the Union, it's fitting also to extend a few words of gratitude together with you. I would like to thank the Director General for Programming and System Coordination, led by Laura Marinaș, Florentina Ciocan, Elina Radu, and all those who contributed to this event on the policy side and shaping the agenda. Big thanks to you. I would like to thank the Director General for Communication and System Cooperation, led by Ivona Batali, Florentina Sararo, and Consuela Iacob, for the impeccable logistic organization of the event of such scale. And I would like also to thank the colleagues from the World Bank, Dragoș Dinu, Brigitta Orzan, and all the others who supported us through this meticulous preparation process. To Carol and Stefania, who handled all the event registration and fought the difficult battle of ensuring that everyone arrived here safely and on time. Today also happens to be Stefania's birthday. I don't know if she's here. Yeah, she's here? No. Okay. So I really would like to wish her, even in her absence, she actually was here today on her birthday and attending, perfectly understandable that she left earlier. Thank you all for participating. Again, for me, I'm at the end of a process which was really tiring for everyone, but I'm feeling energetic right now, completely enhanced by the fact that we have exchanged. I don't know if I can handle, another 24 hours, I'm not going to push that further. But I think that it's worth thanking you again for participating and contributing to this essential dialogue for the future of Romania and the future of Europe. And I hope that today we have set an important precedent, and I very much look forward to seeing you again in this format here in Bucharest and in Brussels and in any of the capitals that I've already promised to visit you, because we had quite a few bilaterals these days. A big thanks to you all. Thank you very much, and let's have the cohesion that Europe deserves. Thank you.